right, ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pleasure that I introduce my esteemed guest today, Julia Silver. Julia's a creator of the popular Qualified Tutor podcast, as well as the founder of the Love Tutoring Community. She's a passionate advocate for the power of tutoring. Julia has dedicated her professional life to helping students and tutors unlock their full potential. As a bonus, Julia's upcoming book, Love Tutoring, Turn Your Plan B into Plan A, is eagerly anticipated by both educators and students alike. That book is going to promise valuable insights as far as guidance into looking into making tutoring their primary career, as well as for those seeking to enhance their skills and approach to tutoring. Um, as a thought leader in the field of tutoring, Julia has become an influential voice in the education community. She inspires countless others to tap into their own love for teaching and tutoring. Today, we are honored to have her share her experience and insights with us. So please join me in giving Julia a very warm welcome. Hi, Julia.
Yum. Can I record that and have it as my ringtone and alarm every morning, please? That was great.
You're welcome. I'm a big fan, big fan. Your
Likewise, David.
your podcast is very inspirational. I know you're doing some revamping on it, and we'll get into some of that. Um, but for those who don't know you at all, can you give them your once over? Who are
Sure,
you?
sure. Oh, well, that I haven't decided yet, but I'll tell you who I've been. Um, so, so my background is in school leadership, and I'm a mum. I have 5 kids and a Labrador puppy who's gorgeous and very badly trained. Um, and what happened was this, David. I was I was ready to I finished my qualification in headship. So I was a qualified head teacher and I didn't want to take on a big school because, as you and I both know, um, big schools sap good energy, don't they? And they deplete well-being. And I just couldn't afford, as a mom, I could not afford to give my well-being away. And so I decided to do something different. I decided to build a business, um, which is not easy, but it's a different kind of challenge and a different kind of freedom that I'm very, very much enjoying. I've really embraced the journey of an entrepreneur. And maybe we can talk about that a little bit as well, because I find it a really joyful um, journey.
Hmm.
But really, what it's all been about for me is leadership. So I took myself as a school leader out of a school and I decided to bring leadership to tutoring. And the reason why I call it leadership is because there is a vision and a mission for raising standards in tutoring. And that has to happen. And it can't happen with just one lone voice and it can't happen with one organization. It has to be a grassroots movement. Why? Because that's how we change things. We change things from the bottom up nowadays. Having worked in a school and seen how unsuccessful top down change can be, if we want our students to benefit from thriving tutors, developed, skilled tutors, then that's where we have to place the intervention. We have to work with the tutors as independents and as businesses to make sure that they have what they need so that they can improve outcomes for their students. So as a school leader, my vision, my approach has always been to nourish the adults who work with the children. That's where I put my intervention. And so in the case of tutoring, we've focused on tutor training, we've focused on community, focused on events and festivals. And really now we've got to a point where we're able to offer a membership that combines all of those elements into this big concept that I have, that tutors need to feel safe, skilled, and supported. And I'll tell you about it in a second. I created a mini course for your participants to introduce those 3 concepts to them of safe, skilled, and supported, and what that means for a tutor. Um, it's the product of a lot of deep thinking and soul searching in terms of my own journey as a tutor, what I found difficult, what would have helped, and then bringing those things together. So you mentioned my book. Somebody gave
Yes.
me some lovely feedback about the third draft just went out for pre-reading, and Somebody told me it felt like a big hug.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that was a good feeling, because I really feel that, you can see behind me here my love tutoring branding, because I just think that tutoring needs more love.
Yes. Is that an apron?
This is not an apron. I do
No.
have a
Oh,
lot of
it's a
aprons.
bag. Okay,
This
okay. I
is
see the
a
bottom
bag.
now.
And yes, I will send you one, but I can't send it to
Oh,
Ecuador because you won't be there for much longer. I will have to send it to Peru.
there you go. Yes. Because as we travel, that's what I love is the travel, the freedom of being a tutor, especially in the online realm. Um, that's obviously my favorite because those who know me and know about my story know that that's our goal is to travel the world to be our authentic selves. And the money is okay, but that's just to get you from place to place, to see things, to do things, to whatever. That for me. Others have their own goals. And so obviously with that being my favorite thing about online teaching, what is your favorite about teaching online?
So, so that's beautiful. I think for me, because I don't tutor currently, I support tutors. That's what
Mhm.
I do all day. That's what I'm obsessed with. And what I love about my work is that people who choose to be tutors are heart led. They're values led idealists. And exactly like you just said, the money is there to help you get from place to place, right? I love serving those people because they're a joy to work with. So my favorite thing about operating is in this space is the kind of people who are attracted to it. So we talk in Qualified Tutor about tutoring being flexible and fulfilling. And those two things combined, where on the one hand, you get to sort of nurture your own soul and feel like you're really spending your time in meaningful ways, but also you're not tied down like you would be in a school. And those two things together, the way that tutoring can work alongside other things, studying, caring, whatever else you're doing in your life, it doesn't have to be an all consuming career, I think is very, very helpful.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm really inspired about also, um, I'm going a little bit off piste here, is career paths. Um, I think it's really, really interesting to think about career opportunities in tutoring, because so many teachers that I know think that they left their career path behind them when they exited the classroom.
Yeah.
And that just can't be true, because we need expertise in tutoring as well. And because we as educators constantly have this need to progress. So building out career paths in tutoring so that expert tutors can mentor new tutors, novice tutors, and creating the sense of I can assert my expertise and my professionalism as an advanced tutor.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really interesting area. So I think tutoring is one of the freshest spaces in education at the moment. And I think that the interplay between tutoring and ed tech is where the magic is right now.
Yeah, I can't agree more. As you talk about that, I think um, you are in one part of the world. I'm in another part of the world. I've talked to people from the Philippines, from Vietnam, everywhere in the world, and people need tutors. We don't need to just be in the classroom teachers teaching just to the masses. Sometimes there are specialties that can't be taught in a government sponsored or a private session type situation that need to be talked about by experts in the field. So, I mean, I've talked to tutors who have never taught in a classroom before. They're just an expert in what they teach and what they tutor on, type situations. And so, yeah, there's a very big need for tutors of all kinds. And your
That's really
group kind of
interesting.
sponsors all of you kind of work with all of them from all these different areas, you know?
We do, we do. So I have this approach of universal pedagogy. So the skills of teaching and learning are not limited to any particular subject. They are specific to the learning process.
Mhm.
And so the way I like to say it is, if you give me a good person, I can turn them into a good tutor, because I can teach you how to build a relationship that's effective for tutoring. I can teach you how to show up as a trusted adult. I can teach you how to be responsive, how to plan effective sessions. I can teach you how to give feedback effectively and to factor in needs and special educational needs and mental health. I can't yet teach you how to be a good person, but I'm working on that with my own kids. But what I think is really interesting is that the subject knowledge is separate to the teaching and learning skills.
Yeah.
And when you put the two things together, that's when you get a synergy that can really take the student somewhere. You need both things. So I don't need a PhD to teach me physics. I need somebody who understands physics and can break it down into its smallest pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
skill set.
It
It's a
is.
different skill set. Sometimes the PhD has the curse of the expert. They don't remember what it feels like to not understand physics, right? So what I'm looking to see here is a tutor who is qualified to tutor my student at this juncture with this specific set of needs. And that will be different moment to moment. So building out an entire army of all the variations of types of tutoring is a really, really interesting project because it's so open-ended. We're not building another school with another set of walls. We're building educators who are beyond the walls of school.
I love that. Yeah. Building educators, not building the school. You don't hear that very often. I mean, most
And
people are, yeah, we got to build the school. We got to make the school better. We got to do this. No, if you make the educators better, then wherever they end up later in their careers, as we're talking, then that school or their private business or whatever will be better because they are better. They are built to where they want to be or where they need to
that's
be. Yeah.
that's right. And it creates an agility. We know that the world is changing faster than we can keep up with right now. And so the agility of educators who are not limited to a specific, that lovely Peter Drucker phrase, that culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yes.
So the culture of education and learning goes much, much further than the strategy of school. And we saw that very quickly in COVID, didn't we?
We
That
did.
schools closed, so the classroom delivery model was defunct
Yeah.
overnight, right? But because we are committed educators, we found another way. So to my mind, that was an immense learning moment of, oh my gosh, my commitment is not to hold up the school. My commitment is to move the learners forward, which is a completely different set of outcomes that, frankly, we don't measure.
It's true. Yeah.
We don't measure. We measure the outcomes of the school, which
Yes.
is self-perpetuating.
I know. The whole pandemic definitely opened up and showed us that there are a lot of other ways to educate.
Mm.
Um, and some schools failed, but started to learn from that. They had good
Then they didn't
experiences. There were
fail.
bad experiences. You're right. Failure is an ending. But no, they
It's a
learned,
stage.
they grew.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I haven't talked to anybody who's completely abandoned the online approach at all. I've heard of schools that have now said no more winter break, no more snow days. I should say, not
No more
winter breaks,
snow
no more snow
days.
days. You're going to learn from
Oh,
home on a snow day.
this is not good. This is
As a
not good.
when I remember, I wanted those snow days as a kid, but now you can actually work through them.
Your kid lives one long snow day. Am I right?
In a way, in a
Okay.
way, in a way.
It's funny that, isn't it? I feel like you and I overlap in that sort of anti-establishment approach, and yet I I I was perfectly happy to build a school when I believed that school was the right place for children and adults.
Yep.
And the minute that I became disillusioned and I felt like I could not lead change from within inside the walls. That's when I turned to tutoring as a more flexible delivery model. And I think it's really interesting to think about modalities, about how we deliver education and how we blend the different delivery models so that we find the blend that is most suited to each student. So I've got one kid who hasn't been in school for 2 months because he's struggling with anxiety and depression. And this last week, I celebrated him going into school for an hour a day. And the rest of the day, he spent training the puppy. And
See,
and and that's learning. That's what learning looks like this week.
it is. And learning comes in all types of shapes and forms. I've learned that because, yes, my kid has gone to traditional schools. my master's in education, and I researched schooling, and I know where it came from, what it did. I know what I don't like about it. And we found that there's so many different ways to educate, whether you're doing something formal with your own kid, whether they're doing something formal in a classroom, whether we're doing unschooling today. Today we're going to go out and we're going to see these animals in person out in the Amazon where we are right now. Or we're doing world schooling. We're getting together with other students from around the world, other kids. They're just having some playtime. They're learning languages together. There's so many different ways to learn and to educate children, um, that they can be successful adults as they grow up.
I have a good friend who's homeschooling, and um, her youngest is now 8, and she's beginning to lose her nerve because she's comparing her kid with other 8-year-olds who go to school every day.
Ah,
Now,
so that's tough. Yeah.
this child has just been diagnosed with ADHD, and finally she's been able to say, okay, so he's not reading at an 8-year-old's level, but he's also not struggling with self-esteem like most ADHD kids in the classroom are struggling.
Hmm?
So so we are measuring a specific set of outcomes: reading, writing, numeracy. We are not measuring well-being, confidence, resilience. And then this kid who she has really intentionally not demolished by sending him into school, where he specifically as a person could not have coped, she doesn't even get to celebrate that because she's struggling with the confidence of it. She's struggling with the social anxiety of it. And I really think that supporting the adults who are making these decisions,
Yes.
is the key area. It's certainly the area where I want to place my energy. So supporting the adults who are making difficult decisions about exiting the classroom, about homeschooling, about different ways of delivering learning to children. I find that a really, really interesting area because we are a generation who is making those decisions for the
Oh,
first time.
yes. Mhm. And that support that Qualified Tutor gives, that the Love Tutoring gives, is outstanding, because there are people, like I've had to learn it myself by watching my child, and I'm like, oh no, he doesn't keep up with his cousins or whatever, who, they're doing standardized testing and their math skills are off the charts and things like that, but they couldn't tell you about X animal and where it came from and all of its history and this and that. So it's different. So I've learned, and this is what I try to teach to those parents that are looking at going this route. You can't judge your child, your student, on
That's
a
right.
standardized scale. It has to be on an individual scale. Where will they be? Where are they at right now? Type situation.
And it's so interesting, isn't it, that we are inconsistent with understanding that. So you can make the decision to take your child out of school, but you forget to then not measure them against standardized schooling.
Yes.
It's really interesting how that sits in a blind spot. I think also a friend of mine said this to me recently, that it is difficult to reimagine school when it's all you know. And so you and I went to school. We were trained to make school happen, to maintain school. And now we have to break our own training to think fresh. And I think we don't even notice how challenging that is. So you mentioned, we both mentioned COVID and
Yeah.
working online. And I very honestly say that I think I broke my brain working
Oh.
online because I pushed myself so hard to provide in the Love Tutoring community and in Qualified Tutor something that didn't exist.
Mhm.
And because I'm naturally such a passion led person, um, I did that without stop. And because online goes and goes 24/7 all over the world, I worked too hard and I burned myself out. And I think that we need to learn, we as our generation, not as the younger generation, we need to learn boundaries. They call it digital digital health, right? Not digital
Mhm.
safety, digital health. And I think that's a really, really interesting area to sort of develop our thinking in, so that we understand how online can enable us to grow without breaking our brains too often.
Not too often.
Not too often. A little bit of breaking is okay.
Well, yeah, I was listening to a podcast the other day about listening, and it was basically you think about people that are doing the airplanes, the air traffic controllers. They have to work. They don't are not allowed to work for more than 2 hours at a time because their brain has to have a break because they're constantly listening, paying attention. Um, so tutors are very similar. You need to give yourself breaks. Entrepreneurs, we have to give ourselves breaks. Otherwise, if you don't have that brain break, you will burn out. You'll start to hate what you love, and that's not good. We don't want to
Yeah,
hate what we love.
no.
So, kind of brings me around to your love, tutoring. Um, Tell me how you transitioned. We found out, okay, you moved from the classroom, this brick and mortar stuff, to the qualified tutor. So now, how did you evolve into the love tutoring?
Okay. So, because of this idea that leading change has to be from the bottom up, I was always committed to creating a grassroots movement where people's voices were invited. So, for example, when we run the Love Tutoring festivals, which we've run since 2019, and they are awesome, we call the people who join us participants, not attendees. And we don't run conferences, we run festivals because we're really, really interested in bringing the whole self. Um, I'm really interested in the power of community. I think it's the most it's one of the best muscles that we have to lead healthy change at the moment. I think it's what was lacking, and I think it's our strength. And so the Love Tutoring community was born out of this like the more the merrier, arms wide open approach to business and organization and education. I have a poster here that says "We are limitless," and that's really what it feels like. So, to me, the Love Tutoring community is this open-ended, safe space. It's not a Facebook community. It's it's a private we have our own app that you download when you join the community. And that means it's a professional development community that is safe and closed. And anybody who wants to join has to tell me why. So we currently have nearly 3,000 tutors from all over the world who all understand that the idea is reciprocity. I
Mhm.
need to come in, I need to share what I know, I need to learn from you. Have I told you about the 3 qualified tutor house rules?
No, not the rules. No.
This is going to tell you everything you need to know. So when you join the community, the first spiel you hear from me is be curious, be generous, and be reflective.
Curious, generous, reflective. Okay.
Okay, so curious means taking on new knowledge, put down what you know, and explore what somebody else knows,
Okay.
right? Generous means two things: share with me what you know, because I'm a learner too, and don't jump down my throat when I get things wrong, because nobody gets things right all the time.
Right.
And then that third piece, reflective, is what professional development is all about. You need to allow learning to change you, because if you think about that distinction between education, where we're jumping hoops to get exam grades, and real learning, it's the change that happens internally that really typifies learning. And
Yes.
that's what I'm pointing to in the love tutoring community.
I love that. Yes, because it all leads to growth. If you are not just sharing, you're taking in information, you're letting people share with you, you're sharing with them, then you are able to grow yourself as long as you keep open. And I love that.
Yeah, and it's what's really interesting, because it's a practice. It's not easy. What you find is that you use your muscle to stay open. So all of that, we're so used to being entrenched, and we're so used to being defensive. And instead, what you do is you use your own power to keep your own mind open and keep challenging yourself. It's exhausting. It's a real endeavor. It's a discipline. And I found it very, very powerful.
Yes, definitely. So those are the rules. Now, earlier you alluded to your pillars, and everybody who goes to your site, you can see a lot of cool things about the pillars: safe, secure, and supported. So, how do you
Safe,
use those
skilled, and
principles?
supported.
Yes. How do you use those principles in your coaching business?
Okay. So I think what's really interesting is that I'm much more of a why person than a how person.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm all into the culture. And I've spent so much time thinking about what that change is and what raising standards in tutoring is, and what that vision for plan A tutoring could feel like for a tutor who is used to being lonely and used to being unsupported and a little bit insecure. And then eventually I understood that it comes down to these three needs of safe, skilled, and supported. I need to know that when I show up in my tutoring session, um, I've created a safe space around myself. I am aware of any safeguarding concerns. I understand risk assessment. I understand a code of conduct. So that's the skill area. And it creates this safe area so that I'm not putting myself in any jeopardy because I'm not protected by the school processes like I would be as an educator in a school.
Mhm.
I then need to think about skilled. And for me, in terms of my own professional integrity, I need to know I'm doing a good job when I take money from a parent. And when I lack confidence, which I tend to, as many of us do in this space, I need to have a tangible understanding of what it means to be skilled as a tutor. So what I've understood is, like we were speaking about before, the pedagogical subject knowledge. You need to understand your subject and how to break it down for your learner, and then how to move them forward to where you need to get to. So a little key there, the three keys of skillful tutoring, of effective tutoring, are relationship, responsiveness, and reflectiveness. And you can develop those three areas within your tutoring, then you'll know that you're a skillful tutor. But that's not the only thing, because then you need to show parents that you're skillful. You need to assert your excellence. I once heard, I was on a panel, on a tutor business panel, and somebody in the audience asked the most rogue question I've ever heard. She said, "What's the difference between a £5 tutor and a £50 tutor?" And one of the people next to me just blurted out the answer: branding,
Okay.
which
Yeah. Yeah.
is profound and painful.
It
Yeah.
is.
Because an educator's value is not in their branding. An educator is not a marketer,
No, they aren't. Not by heart, at
right?
least. Not by heart. Most educators
Well,
care less.
except in the extent that teaching is actually marketing because you're selling ideas. But beyond that, to be able to teach parents to trust you, to be able to teach parents to pay a premium to work with you, you need to have a tangible understanding of what your skill level is. And that's what we work on in Qualified Tutor. We work on membership, training, credentials that really, really quantify what your qualifications are as a tutor. And it's complex, it's really complex. And we have lots of different solutions and lots of different conversations about what excellence means in tutoring. And I'm really, really proud of that because there's no one answer,
Yeah,
but engaging in the question is extremely helpful.
it's true. It's one of my pet peeves is I'm in a lot of the different Facebook groups and I see people talking about price. And people are like, "Oh, well, I could only do $7. They'll only pay $7 for a class." And I'm like thinking to myself, "Well, think about your time. Think about your worth. Think about all the extra stuff that you put into these things." And I always have to respond and get involved in those conversations because uh, people aren't always thinking about that. They just literally think, well, what do you think the parent's going to pay me? No, you need to tell the parent why they're paying this premium for you. You are worth more than you think you are.
I mean, maybe you are, but I'd like to know why,
Yeah.
right? So,
What?
with my mommy hat on, I
Mhm.
also want to know how I can understand what your value is. I want to pay you a fair price. I want you to charge me a fair price. I need a language of transparency there. So if you're a head teacher, if you have a dyslexia assessment training, and I have a student who is dyslexic and is in primary school, then you might be the right person for me, and I can quantify that. But if you're a high school kid who's pretty good at maths, you may still be an effective tutor for a fifth grade student. Let me just let that reflect in the value, not the value of you as a person, but the value of your time and your level of skill. And that takes us back to that idea of a career progression. If we really want to talk about expertise, it's not about inflating value. It's about creating transparency for what the value really is.
Yes, I like that.
So let me
Because
tell
yeah,
you
it
about
all
the third
varies.
pillar.
Okay, let's start with
What's
the
that?
third pillar. Yeah, let's
So
hear about the third.
supported. We've already spoken about the Love Tutoring community. It's all about bringing voices together. It's all about speaking and being heard. And the problem with tutoring is it can be lonely, because whether you're working as an independent tutor or as you're working as part of an agency, you tend to work in a silo. You work very closely with students, you work quite closely with parents, but you do not work closely with other tutors. And professionals cannot exist like that. So there's a study in the UK from 2019 from the Sutton Trust where they called tutoring shadow schooling. Now, I have a very strong reaction to that phrase because I don't believe that educators can or should exist in the shadows. Yeah. A school in the shadows is a very concerning thing in a culture where we're so concerned about safeguarding and also about people development. So we need to keep tutoring in the light, and a professional development community supportedness creates that light space where I can ask my questions, I can be wrong, yeah, but I'm working in context. Very, very often I used to close the door on a student at the end of a session. Sometimes I'd be like, oh, I smashed that, and I didn't have anyone to share it with. And sometimes I'd be like, I didn't nail that and I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
And nowadays I go onto the Love Tutoring community and I discuss it with them and we bounce ideas around. And like we said before, it's not failure because we learned.
That's awesome. Can
It's
we
awesome.
show some of the attendees today? Well, you mentioned the community, and it's more than just a Facebook group and or anything like that. It's a whole platform that you've developed.
Yeah. Are you inviting me to share screen?
Yes, please. I
Thank
love to
you.
I love to show people things, not just talk
Okay.
about it. I think
Okay.
they
I'm
all
going to
just
show
get a
you
kick
two
out of it.
awesome things with your permission.
Of
First, I'm going
course.
to share a screen to the Love Tutoring community because it's such a joy. I'm so proud of it. So we ask these interesting questions all day about exam prep, about well-being, and we discuss what people need. We discuss what tutors need to nurture themselves and to nurture their students. And the vibe is just so, so supportive. There's always something going on. It's always good-hearted and light-hearted, appropriate. So this is safeguarding. We delivered a safeguarding session this morning. And Adrian, who delivers the session, is so appropriate with this very difficult content, which makes me really, really proud because you have to be mindful of the learners and be gentle with them. So there's a lot that's going on here all the time. This is an event that happened. You might know Michael and Samantha, Joanne and Georgina. They ran an event and they advertise it in the community because we want to know what's going on out there. Very often I hear from tutors that it's difficult to know what's going on when you're not working in a school. And I find that to be totally the opposite. I find that there is so much going on in the tutoring space. You just need to stay connected. So these are just some of our 2,500 members, nearly 3,000, based all over the world. And they are the most passionate professionals you could meet. We run events roughly every 6 weeks, focused on leadership, on well-being, on business. We run group coaching once a week, and we run drop-in sessions once a week, and also a co-working session once a week. And all of those sessions are designed to make people feel not lonely.
Yes.
The opposite of lonely, right? Supported and normal and in context. And it works beautifully because the feedback that I get, and it blindsides me sometimes because when you're working online, you don't get feedback so easily.
No.
But then when you do, it's just magic because there's lives being changed here just from the supportiveness. And it's a thing we're really proud of. Shall I show you the other thing?
Awesome. Yes. I would
Okay.
love to see the other one because if it's
Okay.
ready, yes.
It's ready. It's ready. It's ready. I'm going to
All
show you. Yeah,
right.
that's right. That's right. Hannah was just finishing it off. I messaged
Yes.
her. So let me show you something cool. Okay, so this is the Qualified Tutor website, qualifiedtutor.org. And over here, we have just launched our new membership packages. And membership is based on, these are all in pounds, not dollars, but our membership is based on being able to provide all of our benefits in a one-stop accessible package. So whether you're a tutor working alone or in a small team, a tutor company, or a large organization, we can support you with onboarding, induction, training, professional development, community, branding, digital membership, quality assurance, events. And really, what it comes down to is this new generation of what a professional membership body should be. So I'm going to stop share for a second to tell you this. I'm really passionate about this. When I started Qualified Tutor, I knew that I needed to show people how serious I was. And so I joined this organization and they let me use their logo. And I signed up for that membership. They let me use their logo. And eventually I had this website that was a collection of other people's logos, right? Which was me sort of like climbing the credibility ladder. And it got to a point where I thought, but there's no meaning behind any of those. I just bought a sticker. It's just a sticker collection. Where is the meaning behind membership? The kind of meaning that gives transparency, that creates trust. What is that really based on? So I've developed a really expensive product. I mean, it's expensive for me, not for my members, which is digital credentials. Now, a digital credential is what universities are going to start delivering soon, where instead of sending you a PDF of your university certificate, they send you a digital credential, which is verified and on the blockchain. So nobody can forge one, right? So when when a tutor shares my digital credential, the qualified tutor digital credential with a parent, they know that it's in date, they know that it's verified, and they know that it has safeguarding and police checks sitting behind it as a requirement. So a parent knows that this is not just a PDF, it's not just a sticker, it's actually a piece of meaning where the membership represents a shared vision for raising standards in tutoring together. It's really meaningful, it's really heart led, and the goal is that it creates more trust and more transparency in tutoring, which is, as we started off by saying, such a complex area, such a
Yes.
complex, nuanced field that creating transparency within it is really difficult and really important.
Definitely, definitely. I love that it's global. It's not
Oh,
just regional.
me too.
Yes, because there's you've got regional things here and there's regional things there, and you can get a specific certification for your area of expertise. But you need something that shows that you are like dedicated, that you are working with all these others. And you show us a little bit more about what's behind the certification.
I will, absolutely, I will.
Yes.
And do you know about World Tutors Day?
No,
So
I'd
we
love
launched
to.
World Tutor Day 3 years ago, 2nd of
Okay.
July.
2nd of
Why?
July. We're
Because it's
coming up.
just after exams, but just before results. So teachers get all of those thank you cards, right? They get chocolates and gifts at the end of term.
Yes.
We think it's important that tutors get thank yous too.
Ah.
So we launched World Tutors Day. So watch out for it, 2nd of July, and we'll let you know more about that. And the Love Tutoring Festival 4. So what sits behind the membership? The things that make you safe. So police check and safeguarding training. The things that make you skilled. your training, your credentials, your commitment to professional development, and the things that make you supported, who your mentors are and who your peers are. So we give you access to the Love Tutoring community to ensure that you're supported. We give you access to our training to make sure that you're skilled. And we ensure and we offer you, if you don't have them already, the police check and the safeguarding training to ensure that you're safe. So that's the way that we are building out this enabling vision of a membership that is raising standards in tutoring. How will I know when I've been successful, David? Go and ask me.
Oh, how will I know when I'm successful?
Glad you asked. When parents ask tutors, are you a QT member? Are you a qualified tutor?
I like that. Yes, because how does it get there to the parents knowing, because that is the trick.
It's really interesting. So the reason why I first started Qualified Tutor was because as a mum, I didn't have the same reassurances that I did as a school leader. I wasn't able to do reference checks and police checks and interviews in the same way that I was as a school leader. And that discrepancy made me very uncomfortable. But I understood that what I didn't want to do was replicate what was going on in school. I needed to talk with parents as consumers. I needed to create an offer that was B2B.
Mm-hmm.
So the model that I've landed on is a quality mark. It's like fair trade.
Yes.
So whenever I see the fair trade mark, I know that there are some values-led people there who are representing a set of values that I subscribe to. Right?
Yes.
And so the qualified tutor mark is intended to be disruptive. Once you see qualified tutor, why would you use somebody who's not a qualified tutor? Because it's not difficult or expensive to access. And if you're serious about tutoring, you'll be part of this membership body.
Awesome. Yes.
We have
There's
a
a lot
QT
of
directory.
people.
Did I mention that to you?
Yes.
We have a parent-facing directory. So once you're a member, you're also listed on our membership directory. And I think that that's a really important thing. And it's difficult to position it right because it's not another platform. It's not really a space to find tutors. It's a space to verify tutors.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's a good
yet,
distinction. That is a very good distinction.
it's an important distinction because I also think it's important for me to be able to list agencies and tutor platforms as members because everybody should have this requirement for safe, skilled, and supported. So parents then have to know what the QT membership means, and then they have to know what else agencies are bringing to them. So agencies still have a benefit. They still add value. They just have to be really clear what that value is. A tutor platform adds value. It creates this accessible space, but it must have regulation and checks involved. So by becoming a member of the QT directory, they're becoming reassuring to parents. They're carrying that mark of trust and quality.
So upon listening to this, our viewers are probably wondering, how do I access this space? How do I become a member?
Well,
So
firstly, thank you for that feedback. I really appreciate it because sometimes I'm so excited. I don't know if I'm leaving people behind, and I don't want to do that. I made a little course. I made a mini course for you. I called it Qualified Tutor 101 because, like I told you, I'm much better at why than how. So I made this mini course to help people in, and I'll share with you the link. When they follow through that link, it will help them to join the love. It will invite them to join the Love Tutoring community, and they will complete a short course in there. They'll have 3 videos from me that explain those 3 different ideas. And the last one is the treasure hunt. They get to go into the community and find some things and introduce themselves, make use of the community so that hopefully by the time they finish that short course, it won't take them more than 40 minutes. They'll actually have orientated themselves in the community and they'll have earned their first credential.
that will be linked down below, everybody, so you can access that. Just scroll down past this video when we're done.
And when you join, please message me and tell me that David sent you. I would be really, really happy to welcome you in.
So very cool. Well, that has been a lot of amazing information. Do you have any kind of parting advice, anything that you'd like to share with everybody here? You think we didn't get to yet?
I do. I do. I do. I tell you what's on my mind and in my heart at the moment. Don't network, connect.
Don't
Am I
network,
right?
connect. Oh,
Don't
I want a
network.
shirt that says that.
Yeah, I'm going to make you a shirt that says that, David. I tell you why, because you and I had a really nice chat last time, and I met your wife, and I heard about
Mhm.
your travels, and I heard about your journey. And that meant that I knew who I was talking to, and I could open my heart to you with confidence. That's not networking, that's connection. And
Yes.
that's what we need to teach our kids to do.
Yes, I totally agree. The world needs to have more connection, not as much networking, more connection. So definitely on those are some great parting words from Julia here. So everybody, again, thank you, Julia. It's been excellent, and yeah, do scroll down below, look at this workshop, join the community, and show everybody how you can connect. All right, take care, Julia.
David, thanks for your time. See you soon.
Bye.